So you've specialized in product-led sales throughout most of your career. And we've talked a little bit about kind of the nitty-gritty of product-led growth, but I'd love to just like spend the next section really getting into all the little details. And so product-led growth really starts with the end user. And so I'm curious, like, how do you take that initial sign up, that initial person who just, goes into your app and sort of upgrade that into a team wide or company wide deployment? Like, what are those steps to kind of to make that happen?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and this is like a little bit more generalized of a playbook, is you want to look at your prospects and sort of lead sources for inbound leads, for outbound leads, and to try to parcel them into different groups. There will likely be some group that's a little bit more transactional with a lower propensity to pay and potentially with a higher propensity to self-serve. And so like figuring out the characteristics and the shared characteristics of those customers and then building like a true self-serve experience for them, I think is super important. And then figuring out like at what level you want to cap that off and then to pull in your sales lead is so important. And this was in a previous role, I was able to get to know Yamini Rangan, the CEO of HubSpot, a little bit. One of her secret sauce truisms was you find the areas where humans are best served to do a job, and then you automate everything else. And I think like one of the aha moments for me, which was pretty obvious, is that line is going to change over time. So if you're at Series A, you're building your very first self-serve experience, it's probably going to be a more lightweight and less robust service that doesn't work for as many customers as you want than when it'll be, a more mature company with more robust offering at a later point. And so just thinking about that as kind of a sliding scale of like, if today you can self-serve customers up to 50 full-time employees, and then from 50 to 100 or 50 to 300, you want to introduce like a sales assist team or a different type of sales-led motion. That's great if that's the right play at that time. And part of your goal is to figure out quarter over quarter, how do we bump that up to 75, 150, 300 to allow self-serve to take on a bigger part of your new paid logos and your revenue over time.
Gotcha. And then once you get to a decision maker or buying committee, like how do you think about building the case, right? And then what makes someone sort of upgrade and get that enterprise license?
Yeah, I always like the concept of like graduation. Like there's some moment in time where maybe it's in collaborative tools that I've used in the past, like there's a tipping point of if you have 5 people working in a shared space over the course of a week, maybe that's a good signal for you to say, it looks like your organization is getting outsized value from this. Like, let's talk. And so bubbling those signals up to your sales team and then figuring out how to work amongst the sales team, whether it's going to be AE led or a combination of AE and BDR, that becomes like the genesis of like a sales play. And for those companies where it's building kind of consensus and then figuring out what those watershed moments are. I think that's where there's a whole number of tools out there and signals, but just thinking about like how to get that signal out to the right team. And then from that signal, starting to develop repeatable plays around how to take pockets of usage and to turn that into more organization-wide deployments. That's kind of the name of the game.
Gotcha. And then are you making like custom decks and presentations that say like, here's your usage in Loom and Intercom, and then giving that to your champion to go present to the CFO? Like, yeah, how does that work? Because I assume there's just so much good usage data that you can use to go convince and say, hey, go buy the SSO thing, or, like you need to upgrade.
Yeah, I think that, and I know that there's the SSO wall of shame and different things. Sometimes like SSO used to be kind of an Occam's razor to an enterprise upgrade. And I feel like today's buyers expect more. There has to be an additional level of service, of SLA, of functionality, of something that they deem to be valuable to really like spur that organization-wide deployment. And so it's hard to sort of generalize across different tools, industries, things like that. The one thing that I would say is for anybody who's looking to do some version of this play where it's to take pockets of usage and then to turn that into organization-wide or company-wide deployments, it's really important to talk to your initial set of users and understand what are the problems that they want to solve, what sort of impact do they see, what do they wish they could see, and bake that in to something that would be a more org level priority. So if you have a group of product managers who are using like a video messaging tool as a means to share rich context and feedback across time zones, that could be something that is mapped to a new product release that has outsized organizational impact. And from there can like really tie into something where your VP of product who has access to budget, who has this company level priority, would be more interested to invest in a broader deployment versus just saying, you have 5 users, here's an SSO upgrade, let's get an additional 400.